Good morning, everyone. In the next episode of umbraCoffee, episode number 162. Hi, Callum. How's your week?
Hey, Marcin, I'm
Standard
good.
question.
I've had a busy week. I think I say that every week. It's always.
Yeah.
How's your week been?
Oh, I had a day off yesterday, and then I had a night out with my sick daughter, unfortunately, and I slept for 2 hours. But besides that, it was pretty good week, and yeah, I was again surprised by Friday as usual.
Mm.
But yeah, generally good one, and a lot of things happened as well. But again, I missed Meetup, which I was not proud of because
Yeah,
it was
you
yesterday, right?
missed a good one then. So yeah, the
I
London meetup
know.
that we had last night, our biggest ever. We had a kind of .NET core or .NET focused meetup
Yeah.
full of demos and some really, really interesting talks. None of them recorded, so if you weren't there, missed it. Sorry. But
And Callum, do you have a Fat Thursday in UK? Because
so I do recall there being such a thing as Fat Thursday, but I was reminded yesterday that Fat Thursday
yeah,
by Joe Glombeck on Twitter, and I'm so disappointed that I missed it because it's all about eating donuts.
I know that's why I'm asking, because I know how close to your heart this celebration would be, right? And
So close, it's like clogging up my arteries.
yeah, I broke my diet yesterday and I ate two of the donuts. But yeah, besides that, yeah, it was a nice packed week of things. And I saw a lot of tweets about yesterday's meetup, of course, because it was we've announced it multiple times before, and 75 people attended. One of the biggest ones, right? That's
we had 95 signed up, 75 actually turned up, which is pretty good turnout for a meetup anyway. But yeah, it was good. It was so good, and I think it crashed Warren's Zoom at one point. Too many people.
Yeah, I saw these tweets as well. But yeah, it was hard to say all about, but it was mostly about the new .NET, new stuff inside of the whole .NET platform, and also a new version of Umbraco running on .NET Core. And this is Alpha 3 release, which also is summarized in the, not this one.
Wrong screen.
On the blog post written by Bjarke, highlighting all of the contents of this new alpha release. And Philip was doing the demo yesterday.
No, Bjarke came and did a demo.
Bjarke.
Or a little bit of a talk actually about everything that's been going on. Of course, we featured his demo of a working website
exactly.
last week. But there was some key information that was included in this Alpha 3 update that maybe you would have missed. So we talked a few weeks ago about .NET 5. That's the next iteration of .NET Core. Is now .NET 5. We talked about Bjarke did a PR to update Unicore to support .NET 5, and we speculated that maybe they were going to multi-target, so you could run Umbraco on either .NET Core 3.1 or .NET 5. That's not the case. So .NET 3.1 is gone. .NET 5 will be the version that Unicore launches with, which is interesting because it's not the long-term support version. And in fact, I think that the targeted release for Unicore is August this year, August 2021. And by February 2022, .NET 5 is going to be out of out of support. But the expectation is that we'll be able to just update to .NET 6 straight away because it's backwards compatible, which is awesome.
And really, it's scheduled for November, so it's really a long-term plan, and probably a lot of kind of hard decisions to be made on the state of the project. But again, it's like it's really hard to say if it's a good or bad decision. But definitely, it's a decision which needs to be made to have a focus on some specific areas, and it's good to see it here and list it, and it also covers why those PRs were made and what are the next steps.
And let me just add to that. After seeing Bjarke's talk yesterday and Emma's talk as well about the Unicore project and how those are going, I'm incredibly impressed with how well planned and thought through this process has been. It's not just we've maybe been kept in the dark a little bit about major versions of the CMS before. There was a lot of feedback around V8 about why were certain decisions made. Things here are very, very transparent, and it looks, at least from my point of view, that the right decisions are being made at the right time. .NET 5, they needed a whole bunch of, or there was going to be a whole bunch of breaking changes. They didn't want to introduce those later or pretty soon after a launch. So they've just gone, okay, we're gonna launch with .NET 5, and they've assessed that and made those judgments, and it seems to be like the right decision. Equally, they're supporting MSDI, which was something discussed way back in V8 when dependency injection was introduced. It's Microsoft's abstractions around dependency injection, so you can properly swap out the dependency injection container, and MS logging now as well. So the logging is also completely abstracted if you want it to be, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's all written here. And maybe one thing which we need to remind for all of us is like it's alpha release, and as every alpha beta release, it's worth testing, and it's done for being tested. So all of us can just play around with that, report bugs. There are some well-known issues already listed here. But if any of you, any of us would like to play around with these versions and discover something new, this is the way how to provide the feedback, how to help Umbraco and the whole team to fix them before the next release. And I know, Callum, that you've been busy working with the demo and with the, because we are not, we want to trust everyone that of course it was demoed yesterday, but what it would be if we want to try to run it ourselves, right?
Yeah, so we sometimes get guests on umbraCoffee to do demos, right? But I think maybe we could do a demo today, which is cool because it kind of shows maybe if we can get it running, anyone can.
Exactly. So
Callum, let's do a demo. Let's show off Umbraco running on Unicore, on the Unicore Alpha 3 on .NET 5, and we're going to do it on a GitHub code space. Because why not? We can show off two cool things in one. For those that don't know, GitHub Codespaces is a way of you run a container in the cloud, and they basically give you a Visual Studio code, the IDE interface in the browser, and you can work and run kind of any runtime, any framework in the browser, including .NET. Some specifics here about the underlying tech. The container is running on GitHub server, and it's running on a Linux machine. So we're going to be seeing here Umbraco on .NET Core running on a Linux machine, but kind of virtualized away, so we don't have to worry about that too much. The steps that I'm going to show you are exactly the same to set it up locally with your Windows machine with Visual Studio as they are on a Linux container or on your Mac. It doesn't really matter. In fact, I'm on a Mac now. I could do this on a Mac if I wanted to. So yeah, let's get to it. This is just a blank GitHub repo. It's got a README in it. You don't need to worry too much about this. The important thing is GitHub Codespaces. I'm in the beta. I can view it. So I get this little code tab in GitHub on any repo, and I can say open it with a code space. And I've already created one. So we're just going to open that. And you'll notice what this does is it starts to spin up an environment for me. It's going to prepare things. This will look, hopefully, very, very familiar to you. This is effectively full VS Code in the browser.
Is Codespaces available publicly right now?
No, it's in a private beta. But if you go to github.com/codespaces, you can sign up for that, and they're letting people in at quite a rate. So yeah, does that
looks familiar? Yeah.
I guess that looks just like VS Code, and you'll notice here, everything you'd kind of expect. I've got a gitignore file from my repo. I can edit that, change it. It's a normal file. I can search, I can commit changes, I can do kind of everything I would expect to do. I've also got a terminal down here, and that terminal lets me run commands. You've got a ton of things installed in this container that's running on the cloud on GitHub's servers. But just to show you, we've actually got .NET installed. And I've not done anything to configure this. This is out of the box on GitHub Codespaces. So I've just ran .NET V, which tells me the version of .NET SDK 5.0.100. So we've got .NET 5 installed, which is awesome. Oh, I can't type. There we go. So how do we get Umbraco running in this environment? Well, on Umbraco, on the Umbraco documentation, there is some fantastic instructions for how to get started. Running .NET Core and .NET 5 projects is slightly different. NuGet's been changed. It works in a bit of a different way. They use installation templates to kind of get all of the things you need installed properly so you can easily spin up new Umbraco projects. That's what we're going to set up now. So to get the alphas working, we just have to add Umbraco's NuGet feed to our code space, to our environment. In this case, yep, it's gone ahead and added it. When this is launched, normally that will just be on public NuGet. Right now, this is on a private feed because it's in alpha. We also then have to install our .NET new template. This template is purely there to help us create Umbraco projects. And you'll see why that's handy in a minute. Because, of course, I'm doing everything via the terminal here. Previously, I'd go to the NuGet UI and maybe search for Umbraco and click install. When you're doing stuff via the terminal, you don't have that UI. This is the terminal way of doing things. So I've got all my prerequisites installed. Those will be installed globally across my whole machine. They're not specific to this project. So you do it once on your dev machine and you're kind of done and set up, ready to go. How do we get started then? Well, the way you start new .NET Core projects or .NET 5 projects is with the .NET. We're using the .NET CLI, .NET New command. .NET New is a way of saying, I want to create a new project. And here, we can then use a template. This is referenced in the Umbraco documentation here also. So .NET New Umbraco, because we've installed Umbraco, we can do that, and it will create a Umbraco project for us with that template. I can then give it a name, which is just -n. Let's call this Unicore demo. And you'll see very quickly on the side here, it's spun up a folder. It's installed some of the things that I expect to be able to see there. And if we look at the CS_proj file, which it's created, it's installed Umbraco for me that quickly. That was really
fast.
Yeah, really
fast.
Of course, I spun this up earlier, and so the NuGet package is actually cached.
Yep.
Normally, it would take a little bit longer to go and find that NuGet package. So yeah, this is Umbraco installed. This is exactly what you would do in Visual Studio currently. To run this project, it's just a case of going .NET run. Oh, sorry, I need to Unicore demo. Oh no, I mean it right. .NET .NET build. So I have to build the project first. This is like doing a build in Visual Studio. And once it's done this, we can do .NET Run, which will allow us to run the site. Maybe, Martin, do you have any questions about this whilst we've been going through?
I haven't seen the code spaces yet, but it's already a step towards a containerization of the whole approach here. And of course, you've said earlier before we went live that it doesn't support databases yet, right? So to work with Umbraco here, we need to have a database set up before.
Indeed. So, of course, Umbraco relies on a SQL database. Now, on Windows and currently in Umbraco 8, we can spin up Umbraco running a SQL CE database. If we're running this on Windows, you can actually add here, use SQL CE, and it will install with SQL CE. Because we don't have that, it doesn't run on Linux, which this container is, we're going to connect to a database that I've spun up in Azure over here. But this is pretty typical Umbraco stuff. Okay, I've ran .NET Run. And you'll see that Umbraco's actually spun itself up on a port here, port 5001. Of course, it's on localhost. I can't connect to that. We're running on GitHub in a container in the cloud. But GitHub Codespaces does a bit of magic to actually route your local ports to the local remote URL to that local port. So here you are. That is the Umbraco back office running in a Linux container on GitHub Codespaces. Let's just quickly spin up a login here. I'm going to use a really secure password. And of course, typical thing, I've got to configure my database. So let's just do that quickly. Copy that one. Connection string. I called it Unicore demo. Unicore, and I think my password is Sitecore rocks. Let's just retry that. Sitecore rocks. Okay, continue. And it's connecting. We're running
your standard password, which you are using for everything.
Exactly. Whilst that's happening, you'll see a few things going on down here, actually, in the terminal. You see it's creating all those database tables. It's getting up and running, which is, really, really cool. I think this is because it's in an info mode, and you wouldn't normally see this. At least it would be nice to turn this on and off. So yeah, this install process is pretty much exactly the same as you'd get on Umbraco 8. There is one catch here, which is, I guess you've noticed when you install Umbraco 8, it actually does a restart. So the application gets restarted in IIS Express or IIS, whatever you're running it in. Now here, we're not running in IIS, we're just running in something called Kestrel, which is .NET's built-in web server. And you can't automatically restart sites in Kestrel. So what's going to happen here, in this case, because we're not using IIS, is it's going to crash, it's going to stop. And you'll notice here, it shut down my application. That's the sign that the installs actually runs. So I can just go .NET run again, and it's going to spin the site up again for me, as if I was just starting the project up from scratch. You'll see.
Is this the thing which is listed under known issues?
Indeed, yeah. This is a known issue, and I'm not sure if it is an issue. I think it's just a change in the way we work, given that the way Umbraco's historically worked.
Yep.
So yeah, it's spun up my site again on a port. I should hopefully get my Umbraco app booted up. Woohoo! I have Umbraco. I can log in and just check it's done that. I have a dodgy number 8 key on this MacBook. So yeah, hopefully we'll get the Umbraco back office, and
we are there.
It's as simple as that. This should be a very familiar process. The Umbraco back office hasn't changed much. Of course, we can start going in and creating document types and templates and, whatever we want to do. Homepage.
Very cool. A great way to just quickly start and kick off the project, and even not using our own machine for that. That's kind of mindset switch for all of us.
I've not had to install anything to get this project running.
Yeah,
it's all in GitHub code spaces, and the best part, I've installed this. Git's tracked my changes. I can just go wherever it is up here, stage everything.
Yeah.
Stage all changes, commit, bam, done. And then up here, I think I can push somewhere. Push.
Really cool.
So if you were working on this same repo in GitHub, you could open GitHub up. You could go to the code tab, check out that code space, and run the exact same project. It's all there.
Nice, really, really nice. And as I said, a little bit mindset switch for all of us working locally before. I know you've been exploring the code spaces for a while, but it seems like, again, for someone who worked with the .NET Core, .NET stuff, and more Visual Studio code than Visual Studio full version, that's definitely a closer step to just unify the workload, the way how we are working.
I love my Mac, and Windows 10 is really good operating system.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but I love my Mac and I love VS Code, and I use VS Code wherever I can. So as much as possible, I'm going to be moving towards just developing on my Mac, just developing with VS Code, and this kind of process works fantastically. I'd even love, what if I could, ditch my super powerful, expensive Mac, get a lighter weight one, and actually just have my dev environment living in the cloud, spin it up from any laptop.
I've heard about some companies doing this kind of development on virtual machines. Thanks to the speed of internet, accessibilities and stuff like that, we can do that. We can think about that like that. And right now, if you will have everything running on your or your source repo, that's amazing. And again, it's a fully functional Umbraco installation. With everything ready to be worked on and explored. So we can, again, invite everyone to play around and report found issues, because you've mentioned before that there are some changes, there are some things which already evolved a lot since last work. And of course, again, this blog post which we were showing highlights some of these changes, so everyone can just take a look, see what has changed, how it affects the way of working with Umbraco from now on. And again, wait for another version. And there is a plan listed somewhere down below. So what's next?
March, the plan is to have a beta. June, the plan is to have the release candidate, and August is the plan to have general availability, which is cool.
Nice.
I think let's not take this as gospel, but let's treat maybe the release candidate in June as kind of 8.0, and the general availability in August as 8.1. And I know a lot of people were less keen to jump on 8 until 8.1. People held off. There was a lot of criticism for it. That is our period to start scrutinizing. And from March, the idea is that package devs can start building against it and get involved. There's going to be a few back-end changes, although I think Bjarke did mention yesterday that in a few very specific select examples, you could take an Umbraco 8 package as it stands and install it on Unicore. For example, Matryoshka, which is purely JavaScript and CSS. Nothing's changed in that regard. So you could drop that over and it would work. If you're not using any of Umbraco's APIs, not using any of your own .NET stuff, you'll probably be able to just drop your package over, which is really cool.
Yeah, I really like the information shared here that it's not ready for starting your build and in the production mode and aim that it's not going to change, because it will change. And same with the package developers. There was a clear message that do not start yet. Start at least in March. And we've been also seeing a lot of information about that from the package creators as well, that they are waiting. They're keeping an eye on, and they will work on the migration or the new versions of the packages whenever it will be. It's hard to say allowed, but whenever it will be reasonable to do that.
The release candidate stage in June. The idea is at that point, all of the Umbraco built and owned, maintained packages, forms, deploy, the starter kit, they will all be migrated and working on the project. So at that point, a lot of the work to kind of get those things working is going to have been done in core. Hopefully, that'll mean it's even more stable. But of course, some of the bigger packages, it would be awesome for people to make a start trying to get those migrated, and smaller ones too. And the one thing I'd say is you don't have to wait till March to start providing feedback. Try this alpha out. Some things I noticed whilst doing this. I showed the .NET new, and you can use SQL CE. But wouldn't it be great if I could pass like a connection string in there, and it just bypasses that whole connection string step in the setup process? There's little workflow improvements or naming changes that just might not sit right with you. Raise them on the issue tracker. At least you've raised them. Don't have to be addressed right away, but they could be addressed as part of that beta period or even as part of the release candidate.
Yeah, and again, we can dream about various things here, and same with the, for example, automated installation process without the manual screen there, right? For example, as you said, right? It's all kind of
unattended installs. We'll have unattended upgrades, so it would be awesome if we could, just do all of that via the command line.
Yeah. Exactly, and I think it really nicely relates to the next topic which we wanted to share, because we can have questions, we can have ideas, we can have discussions, and that's how we were also discussing it a week ago and 2 weeks ago about the way how community can interact with HQ, and we've been also seeing the release of community office hours, and from what I've checked on the blog post, there is a plan to get the Unicore project team to get some questions answered and asked, and that's great opportunity. Let's maybe bring this this article shared by Ilham this week. So it's an evolution of this Q&A session or ask me anything idea from the beginning, and I can't remember the name of the company who was the kind of inspiration of this kind of approach. Yes, exactly. That was the one. And right now, Umbraco released the community office hours, and there is a schedule already. And as I've said, session number 3 on 7th April is about Unicore. It's planned about Unicore. Of course, we can ask these questions earlier as well. And there is a list of questions already populated during this discussion before. So yeah, and there will be hosts and moderators from the community, which is pretty cool.
That's a nice idea. So okay, it's HQ that's going to be answering the questions, but having a community member kind of responsible in there too, ensuring that it's balanced, is a nice idea, and it looks like it's a selection of well-respected people in the community currently. So I really look forward to this. And did you see on Twitter? Maybe you haven't with your sick daughter, but the Lee Kelleher was asking, what does this mean? And there was a really good discussion between him and Ilham actually about the terminology that we use. Lee interpreted office hours as like you can just turn up to HQ, which I guess is kind of that in a virtual sense. But Ilham also pointed out that the term AMA doesn't really resonate to people outside of like Reddit, for example. It's a known term in the Reddit world, but maybe not in the rest of the the community. So Lee suggested umbraco question time, which I think is a nice idea. Maybe people have some other ideas for a name.
But right now it's just a name, but it's a really ongoing activity, and everyone can submit questions. That's also something what is really cool, and we can tune in again to the sessions. And from even what I checked earlier, it's going to be recorded and shared on the community YouTube channel. Yeah. So it's not that something what we will miss. It's same as .NET Core community stand-ups. I've catch up on some of these. Probably there will be some ideas of just aligning the time frames, maybe linking to the specific key moments or questions. That's a lot of ideas, and still a lot of questions to be asked, even by looking on this spreadsheet which was flying around the Twitter a while ago. There's a lot of questions, so everyone can add their own. And I'm really curious to see the first one and have some answers being asked, and also see how the format will work and if it will adapt for longer with HQ and community. Really cool one.
Definitely, I look forward to that.
And last announcements from the Umbraco this week, but still a major one because it's a new course, and this is a Umbraco accessibility course, and it's something what I didn't even think about, to be honest, because probably it's not the obvious direction of thinking about Umbraco courses, but still we've been seeing a lot of great activity from the accessibility team, from the Sigma team, and even by reading this article shared by Gabriel, it's really important if you will think about it more and more. We've been mentioning it that it's a really important topic this year, and not only this year. And 1 in 7 people has some problems with just dealing with websites and dealing with internet. So why not to address that? And this is the new course which will be available soon, because it's almost
available Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday, 17th. But the really interesting thing is, if you remember back to the V7, V8 bridging courses, they were an on-demand type format. You could watch and then take the test. This is the same thing. So it is the first example of an on-demand course. They say take 2 hours of content, and then you can take the test and you get a badge. I don't believe this counts towards your master
certification points
or anything like that. But I think it's a separate thing, and that I like that idea, because you can say, I'm a general Umbraco master. I know all about Umbraco, but then you've got these other specialisms where you can say, but I also know about accessibility, and then maybe they can add to this sort of collection of courses in future.
It might be really helpful for just dealing with clients and pitches and stuff like that, because it's just a one checkbox more, proving that we know new things about these areas, which are pretty important for various projects. And I really like this fact that this is that on-demand course. As someone who cannot easily fit something in the calendar and miss a lot of things, doing it whenever I can, even in the middle of the night, that's something what I loved in this kind of initiatives. So that's really cool. And there is a following blog post shared by Simon from Sigma team, highlighting how it was worked on, what is the format of the course, how it's shaped, and and what you've said, that this is a 2-hour course broken into several chapters on Umbraco TV, and it will be available on demand. So I'm really curious. I will take a deep look into the course soon. And
it's great to see another community contributed course as well, because if you look at personally, my absolute favorite courses that I've taken, and probably the ones that are the highest quality, packed with the most information, are the Examine course, which of course Ismail and Coldworks helped develop, the load balancing course, which Jevon helped develop. So I can only imagine that this one is going to be on a similar level. You're talking with, it was developed by the experts in that area, so you can trust that it's going to be really good content.
Yeah, and again, we shouldn't expect Umbraco knowing everything about everything from the way how Umbraco is consumed by teams. And here, as you've said, we have a confirmation that this is done by specialists who are dealing with it on a daily basis. So really curious how it will go. And next Wednesday, as you've said, and everyone can take a look on that and attend the on-demand course. And release from Umbraco this time about a little bit older version, because there was a patch release this week for Umbraco 7.15. It has some upgrades for log.NET and fixed issue with open redirect, which was caused by insufficient URL sanitization. So yeah, everyone who is running some projects on 7 can grab it and update it and just stay safer. From the package perspective, I was referring to the vendor release because there is also a blog post highlighting the whole roadmap of vendor package. And again, there was a release candidate released a couple weeks back, if I'm correct.
Like start of January or something, mid-January.
Yeah, with multivariants feature, which was very awaited by many people dealing with e-commerce and using vendor as their tool of choice. And there is a whole plan of the new releases and what's next with the vendor, summarizing the whole year. And what I mentioned earlier is about support for .NET Core. And Matt and vendor team are also waiting for the RC here with in March, and then there will be efforts done to make it work, of course, with the latest version of Umbraco. But till then,
as Matt has said in this post, actually, they want vendor to be the solution for e-commerce on Umbraco, and you have to support the latest versions in order to do that. But the really interesting thing is, so you can vote here on the features that you want on the roadmap. Some highly requested things. You can go in and say, I want these few things in priority order. But every single one of them is kind of not necessarily contingent on that .NET Core thing. So they could be pushed back to make space with .NET Core. It could be done alongside. They're not really going to affect it. So I think the ultimate goal of 2021 is that .NET Core release, but with a few of these added features in if and when they can, which is a really nice balanced approach, I think.
Yeah, exactly, and probably it's a lot of decisions to be made, but focus is the main point, and focusing on building the best platform, the best package, and then upgrading it to support the latest version. That's the most probably reasonable decision here to be made. So yeah, let's vote. Everyone who is dealing with the e-commerce using vendor can vote and suggest some of the and shape the roadmap basically. So let's vote. Let's help. And Callum, you have released also a new package, new version of the search extension package this week.
Yeah. So this is, I released some updates to this today. In fact, I've been dealing with a really nasty search problem. And when I eventually dug into the guts of Lucene.net and found out exactly what was going on, I realized I could maybe bury some of that dirtiness away in some extension methods. So this introduces a bunch of extension methods and a little bit of cleanup in the index as well. Before it was maybe polluting the index with a bit too much data. Now it just puts the relevant stuff in there. So
nice. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of positive feedback from people who maybe didn't know this package yet. And yeah, let's just test it out. And great that some of your experiences from the project world are landing into the community package, which is available for all of us.
Yeah, I said this to someone on Twitter that didn't know about it, but I cannot see myself working with Examine now without
it. Yeah,
this is like essential to my toolkit. So it will probably change the way you work and think about search. Get rid of a whole bunch of boilerplate code that you don't actually need anymore with this package.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of this kind of approach. So yeah, that's really well done for this purpose. And Franz also shared his experienced work with some cloud developer dashboard. And again, that was something what was not so well known for everyone who was even dealing with the cloud and dashboards there. And I've seen a lot of great ideas on some feature requests and some possibilities from the dashboards. But here, this version already has some of the great stuff listed. And from Franz said in his tweets and his activity that it was required because they have a lot of projects running on cloud.
Exactly. And so it's because I mean I've got a handful of Umbraco cloud sites, and the portal's manageable. But Franz, when he's dealing with multiple, I think he's got 20 odd sites in there, and some of them have pro plans, some of them are on more simple plans.
Yep.
They've got different environments. You need to know the status of each one of them, and the portal doesn't lend itself to those huge quantities of projects. So Franz came up with a nice Chrome extension solution, which I think is a beautiful, again, maybe a problem that people didn't realize they had, but this solves it in a really nice way.
And exactly, a lot of these informations are just exposed in the more visible ways. He said that he's calling some of the available API endpoints, and yeah, here it's really nice, reminding me about Octopus dashboard or something like that with some environments versions, right?
It does look like the Octopus dashboard.
Pretty similar, so pretty good work. Maybe something what might be discussed as a built-in feature, or there were some discussions about some endpoints, maybe additional, which might.
Marcin was keeping a close eye on this, so
yeah, really cool, and it's open source. Everyone can check out how it's done, and maybe there will be more ideas of Chrome extensions which are extending some of the dashboards and views which we are dealing with.
Yeah,
cool, big high five. And Callum, we've mentioned Meetup yesterday, 75 people from US, Portugal, Ukraine, but there are some meetups ahead in time, starting from 16th of February and the Glasgow Umbraco Meetup, which we've mentioned a couple times, with Team Pain doing a talk there and some discussions after that. And there is also Umbra Camry Meetup on the 18th of February.
Thursday next week.
With Nick and his journey on building public profile pages for Umbraco. That's from the meetup perspective, and there are some additional news which we wanted to highlight, starting from Lee Kelleher.
Did you see this one?
Yes, I've seen it today.
You've inspired Lee.
I'm kind of feeling like an influencer here right now. But yeah, I was so surprised. I seen notification yesterday, but I wasn't online for the whole day. And I checked it today. I said, what Lee did it here? Did he use a package, or he rebuilt it the same logic with Contentment? And again, as I've shared on Twitter earlier, I'm kind of surprised, not surprised, positively surprised that it's all possible, how easy it was. And I'm a huge fan of reducing dependencies. So if, for example, if I would be using Contentment already in my project, I wouldn't be installing additional package to do this. If I can just write some code, which was, of course, Lee shared as well with us, and have exactly the same behavior replicated using the built-in components in Contentment, and it just proves how flexible his package and his work here is, and I'm really amazed by that, and it's great kind of follow up, because we all know, we are developers, there are many ways of achieving the same goals, and here, as I said, having it built in with the package which probably we are using for something else, it's a great work. So thank you, Lee, again, for sharing this experience, and everyone can check it out and decide if it's the approach which they want to take, and if they still need some image crop to be picked. And that's from this perspective, but also about meetups, the one which some of us missed, and we've been talking that the talk will be shared, and it is on Umbraco Community YouTube channel. There is a talk done by Phil titled "Is Umbraco Still a Viable CMS in 2021?" I've started watching it. I still need to finish it, but it's really good to see some of the talks being shared. Not all of them are recorded, but glad that some of them are. And as you can see here, I'm exposing WordPress insights from Phil's talk about Gutenberg. Really good comparison and discussion about CMSs. And what's next? This is about Umbraco and Docker from Antoine. There is a follow-up, because Antoine shared some of the Docker work and some templates earlier.
I think the first one, was getting it running in Docker, and this is deploying that Docker container to Azure onto their Kubernetes service or containers on web apps, which is nice.
Yeah, again, a lot of useful materials for all of us who will be dealing with .NET Core in the future. So it's great to see how easy it is to do it with Azure and containers there. So good stuff from Antoine. The next one is a shared story from Kevin Jump on triggering infinite editors from action menu. And I must say that when I read this blog post for the first time, and I said, "Damn, I forgot about using action menus."
Yeah.
I can't remember when was the last time when I used that.
It's such a common extension point when you wanted to add some contextual functionality. Now people build a content app or a custom property editor or something. But yeah, action menus, and of course you've got the one up in the top right hand side as well, not just in the tree.
Yeah, exactly. And I reminded myself that it was so handy, so useful, that it's worth refreshing. And Kevin, as usual, shared his great in-depth description how to do it. And after reading this blog post, it became even easier in all of the understanding. So everyone can just do it. Some code, some great examples, and great summary how to do it if you will ever need to do it on our own implementations. And Callum, new segment on our umbraCoffee
segment, because so every week we've highlighted some of Dennis Adolfi's awesome blog posts, and every week he sends us a lovely, polite tweet afterwards saying thank you so much. But thank you, Dennis, because honestly, every week I read the blog posts and I'm blown away again. Oh, that's an awesome idea. Oh, that's really cool. This week's no exception. So you've got your own segment of umbraCoffee from now on.
Yes, exactly.
This is awesome. So using
because it's
health checks as a form of integration test. So you can run them at any time, any back office, any environment. That's awesome. What an awesome idea.
Yeah, and again, it's like a follow up to his article shared on LinkedIn a while ago. It was a year ago, and I remember some discussions about using health checks more often, and here there were some discussions which were raised after this blog post in our team. Should we use it for integration tests, but or shouldn't, or maybe what else can we do using health checks? And we can do a lot, and that's again that's impressive thing. I still think that the umbraCo health checks are underestimated and Yes, exactly. And we need to use them more and more. And it's great to see how Dennis used them and how he explored the possibilities to make integration tests from the health checks with instant feedback in umbraCo back office, which is kind of benefit of using health checks there. And second blog post, which was another follow-up and another great controversial topic, which is but it's a topic about a lot of discussions. I've been attending some of these discussions multiple times. It's about has value extension method, and how or should or shouldn't we use it as a null check of some properties or some model elements. And then he shared his approach on that, his point of view, and named it as an obvious issue and information that it shouldn't replace a null check because it's not for what it was initially created, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, very nice, quick, direct blog post about specific issue. And totally deserving Adolfi appreciation time here. So one more big high five, Dennis, for sharing your knowledge and just keep them coming as they are great insights and great materials for all of us.
Yeah,
and that's all from our list. Callum, demo, news, meetups, a lot of things going on. Again,
still packed it into 45 minutes. I mean, we've been trying to keep these shorter. 45 minutes is longer than we want, but that we still packed a lot in today. A lot going on this week, I think.
Yeah, so thanks, Callum, for a great demo, and it's really getting us all closer to using .NET Core, .NET 5 version of umbraCo, which is multi-platform and easier to be run from various places. A lot of blog posts, a lot of insights, a lot of new packages and releases to be tested. Alpha release of umbraCo to be tested, and so probably some great also new things upcoming next week, which we'll obviously highlight on the next Friday. So till then, like, subscribe. I haven't checked how many subscribers we have already, but it's growing. Nice. It's growing.
Get it to 700.
700 till the end of February, which is the shortest month of the year. Challenge accepted. But the call to action is, because we can't do it without you. We can't do it if you won't share it for your friends, for your colleagues, for your employees, companies with who you are working with. If you think that they will benefit from having a shortcut of the umbraCo news gathered in one place in this short or shorter or sometimes longer videos every week, just share it with them. Tell them about umbraCoffee and that's all what we need to get this challenge completed till the end of this month.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you again very much for watching us, and see you on the next Friday.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Cheers.